Vach and welcome to Megillah Maseches. Hey, Maseches Megillah Daf Hey number 5. This is really is Friday's Daf, but I didn't get a chance to do it because I'm extremely busy over here. Everyone seems to be sick or not able to do things, so no, they can't do things because they're sick. So I'm also still a little sick, but hopefully I'm getting better. So let's start. Hey, I'm gonna lift the top. The first line. Amarav Megillah Bismana Koronasa Filo Biyachid. Megillah, when it's read on its time, meaning a city which celebrates on Yud Dalit, or a city which celebrates on Tedvav. If it's read on Tedvav, Karna Filo Biyachid. You could read it even by yourself. You don't have to read it with a minion. Shlo Bismana. If you read it not on its time, meaning you're one of those cities, those villages that read it on Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel. Basara, you have to read it with a minion. Ravasi Amar, Ben Bisman Ben Shlo Bismana Basara. Even if you read it during the right time, you have to read it with 10 people. How about Uvda? There was an incident. Vachashle Rav, even though Rav was Mekel, Shalo Bismana to read it with Biyachid. It was Chash Lahad Ravasi. He was Machmir Lamaisa that even if on the day on Yadal or Tedvav that was the right day, you still have to read it with a minion, which is how we paskin, and you have to read it with a minion. I mean, l'chadchila, you have to read it with a minion. But the other we say, you could be able to even be yechidus. Maria says, "Me amar Rav Hachi." Rav really says, "Amar Rav Yehuda Breder Rav Shmuel Bar Shelas, which made the Rav Purim Shechalios b'Shabbos." This is all in the name of Rav. Purim fell out on Shabbos. Erev Shabbos Manam. Erev Shabbos is a kind of a cryptic statement. Erev Shabbos is considered to be its time. Erev Shabbos manam. The Gemara asks, Erev Shabbos is the time. Shabbos manam. Shabbos is the time. It says the Dalit is Shabbos. Who? Elalav achigama. What does it mean to say? Shalom manam kizmanam. Must be what Rav was teaching in the statement is that even when it's not the right time, it's like the right time. Mazmanam afil b'yachid. Just like during it falls out on you're laying on the right day. You could even do it b'yachidus by yourself. You don't need a minion. The Chiddush of Rav in the statement is that even if you're reading it earlier, you could also read it by yourself. The Gemara says no, it's nothing to do with this. Lo, the Indian Mikra Megillah Basar, real Rav holds, and he's even Machmir, even Bismana to need a Sarah. Ella, my Erev Shabbos Zmanam. What does it mean that Friday is considered its time? Fukim the Rebbe, to tell you, the halach is not like Rebbe. The Amar Hov, and Incha Yarzim Komin Yidachu Liyoma Knisa. Rebbe holds, if it falls out on Shabbos, so even though, right, you can't read on Shabbos, you have to read it early on Yud Gimel. Rabbi holds, once we're pushing him off, already push off Dayaros to Yud Beis, to the day of Knisa, the Thursday, when the market day, the day when the courts adjourn. Hakamashma, the Erev Shabbos Manam, who Rav holds, not like Rebbe, like the other Tana, that really you read on Friday on Yud Gimel. Mishnah, Ezu Hir Gdoila. It's funny, an anecdote. I obviously started this new craze over here of having a chassi shear of a shot of alcohol to Mekayim the mitzvah of shikar on Purim when we're learning it, even though we're not actually doing it because it's not Purim right now, but we're learning about it. So you drink half a shot, the chassi shear. I promulgated this idea at Shalom Zachar. My brother-in-law made a Shalom Zachar. And I even got this guy. He said, he didn't even start learning Masechus Megillah. But he's gonna start learning Masechus Megillah now. So I said already, it was Friday night. It was Daf Vav already. We'll get to that shortly. So I said Daf Vav. You already have 2.5 shots to make up. Half a shot each Daf. So that's 5 dapim. So he actually walked out of there with a cup filled about halfway. A cup, like a 6-ounce, 7-ounce cup filled about halfway. So yeah, 2.5 shots in there. So he's number 4. I got 2 guys. If you saw, actually it was a separate video. I didn't really put it up. Maybe I'll put it up later this week. Where I actually got my first 2 people actually drink during the actual shear. No, the people refused to drink, and the reason I'm not drinking now is because it says that on Purim you're supposed to have a sudas reyes with friends. It has to. It's not fun to have a suda by yourself. To just eat and drink by yourself is not fun. So when do you drink? You drink with other people. Um, it's not so lonely. It's fun to drink with other people. So when I do this share with other people, I'm gonna drink. When I do this share with myself, I'm gonna cry. Not. I don't know. I don't want to drink tonight. My stomach's hurting me. But definitely when Shmuel gets on, and hopefully Shlomi Zion one day will get on the show. We're gonna start drinking. I have our Chatzi Shir, and we'll start making the new movement in Klal Yisrael. All right, the Mishnah says, "Eizevia Er Gedola." What's considered to be a big city that you read on Yud Daled? Kol sheyesh ba asara batlonim. It has to have 10 people who are doing nothing. Pachos mikan. If you don't have these people, they're always in every city. You have these people who float around the base medrash. They're not doing anything. I don't know why this is a distinction of near Gedola, but it happens to be. Pachos mikan rezek far. If it has less than asar batlanim, that is the distinction of what makes something a village as opposed to a big city. And they get to read earlier. Be'elu amru makdim lo ma'achrin. So regarding Purim, we said that you could read it earlier. Aval zman atzei kohanim. We last Masechta we talked about atzei kohanim. Certain families donated firewood to the base of Mikdash when they were Ola from Bavel. They had certain Yom Tov for those days. If those days fall on Shabbos, you celebrate it on Sunday. Tisha B'av, also Tisha B'av, you don't make it earlier, you push it off to later. Chagiga, v'hakel. Chagiga is bringing Korban Chagiga on the Regalim, and Hakel is on Motzei Shvius, meaning next year on Sukkot. Motzei Yom Tov Rishon Shal Sukkot, they had a big thing in the base of Mikdash where they'd read all Sefer Dvarim. If that falls out on Shabbos, you push it off to the next day. All these things you push off, you don't make them earlier. If said you can read the Megillah earlier, these days, you're allowed to eulogize, you're allowed to fast. And you give Matanos Levyonim. We said that actually you're supposed to give Matanos Levyonim the day you read the Megillah because they're connected. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Emasai, when he makes a qualification, when did you have this leniency of reading earlier? It's villages that generally go to the marketplace or to the courts on Monday and Thursday. But places that villagers, they have their own court system. They don't go in on Monday or Thursday. You have to read the Megillah on Gedali. That's the right time. Whereas Tana, Allah, we're not talking about people in the marketplace that are doing nothing. We're talking about people in shul who are doing nothing. I think Rashi says batal, meaning they're batal from malacha, and they're appointed to make sure they have minyanim in the shul. All right. My time. What's the reason? Amar Rabbi Abba. Why can't you read later? Amar Shmuel, Amar Karav lo Yavar. This is in the Megillah lo Yavar. You can't pass over. You can't do it later. So therefore, it can't be after Tedvav. Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Shmuel, Minayin Shem Monim Yom L'Shanim. This is the same Moro who said the same teaching. A different who said the previous teaching, and teach something else, nothing related to Maseches Megillah. Shein Monim Yom L'Shanim. When you calculate years, you don't calculate based on days. You don't say a year is 365 days. It goes based on the months. You don't really, a year, the Torah concedes that a year is 365 days, like the solar year. But the Jewish year is based on calculating 12 months, and therefore it ends up a lunar year. The Kisri Mishum Rabbi Amru Minayin Shem Mechashin Shos L'Chadashim. How do you know that you don't calculate hours into determining when a month is? Shneimar Ad Chodesh Yomim. Ata Mechashev Yomim Ata Mechashev L'Chadashim V'Ata Mechashev Shos Chadashim. It says in the pasuk Chodesh Yomim. So therefore, for example, even though normally a month until the new molad would be a 29 and a half days, that's usually what it is. Sometimes they made the month chaser is 29 days. So really the din is that the new month starts if you made a neder for a month or something, that'll be only a 29-day neder if that month was a chaser. Even the shows would be 29 and a half or plus. Tisha B'Av, why not? Why can't you make it early? Tisha B'Av is a commemoration of punishment. We don't want to bring in punishment earlier than we have to. Chagiga is Korban Chagiga you bring on the regel, on the Shalosh Regalim. So it's not the time. You can't bring it earlier. Hakel also a specific day. Tana Chagiga v'chol zman Chagiga ma'achrin. Bryce says Chagiga, and all the time of the Chagiga you make later. So the Gemara tries to understand this Bryce. B'shalom Chagiga, Korban Chagiga, the Mikla b'Shabsa. If it falls out the first day Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, ma'achrin the Basar Shabbos, so you bring it the next day on Sunday. Zman Chagiga Mai. What is Zman Chagiga in this price? Amar Rabbi Ushaya Hachikam Chagiga b'Shabbos ve'olas Riyah afilu b'Yom Tov. Chagiga if it falls out on Shabbos and olas Riyah afilu b'Yom Tov. The Zman Chagiga Yom Tov is Yom Tov Rishon. That's what we saw in Mesachas Beitza. At least even everyone agrees. Even Beit Shammai agrees that you can bring olos. You can bring shlamim, you can bring a chagiga, which is a korban shlamim. You can't bring an ola, according to Beit Shammai. Afilu b'Yom Tov is man chagiga. Yom Tov is man chagiga at the time where you do bring a chagiga. So the first part of the brayso, chagiga, is referring to korban chagiga that falls out on Shabbos, and zman chagiga is talking about the olas re'iyah that falls out on Yom Tov, ma'achrin. You would not bring that korban olas re'iyah on Yom Tov itself. You wait the next day. Mani Beit Shammai, who is according to this, who is the author of this brayso? Beit Shammai, the son Beit Shammai. Only Mevin Shlamim b'Yom Tov ain't something alay. You're allowed to bring shlamim on Yom Tov, korban shlamim, but you don't do smicha. You can't bring olos at all. They still argue Mevin Shlamim b'olos is samchel. Even during Yom Tov, you could bring shlamim and olos and lean on them. Rava Amar, a different explanation is brayso. Chagiga calls man chagiga ma'achrin. Tfei lo. Because the Zman Chagiga is to tell you how long you have to make up the Chagiga. This now Mishlochab Yom Tov Rishon Shachag Chol Gvaholech as Kol Regel Kula Yom Tov Achron Shachag. If the Chagiga falls out on Shabbos, first day Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, you don't bring it that day. How long do you have to make it up? So you have until, if it's Sukkot, you have the whole Chag, including Shemini Atzeres. And also on Shavuos you have 7 days, and on Pesach also 7 days. Avar hachag haregel v'lo chag eno chayibach. So once the regel passes, you haven't brought it yet. You're no longer responsible to bring it. You missed out on your opportunity. Rav Ashi Amar chagiga v'chol zman chagiga ma'achrin v'afilu atzeres techad yoma ma'achrin. Chagiga refers to the korban chagiga. V'chol zman chagiga is to teach me an additional thing about Shavuos, which you just said before, that you have 7 days on Shavuos to make up your korban chagiga. Filo Atzeres, the Chad Yom, even Shavuos is 1 day, so Shavuos was on Shabbos. Ma'achrin, there's not Modim Shechal Atzeres, Yom Shabbos, Yom Tavuach Achar Shabbos. We'll see Mesachas Chagiga, and it says if Shabbos is the day of Shavuos, you bring it tomorrow because you have 7 days to make it up. It's considered, those 7 days are considered part of Tashlumin for the regal. Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Natan Atiyah B'Purim. Tell a story of Rabbi. He planted a tree on Purim. What else did he do? Haman Beis. Barachas Bekorna Shal Tzpori B'Shvasar B'Tammuz. He bathed publicly. He ran through the fountains. I don't know. What is that fountain called in Rome? Trani or something like that? Trani? I don't know. This famous fountain in Rome. People throw all the money into it. I don't know. Anyway, he went under a fountain on Shvasar B'Tammuz. He did Rachitza on Shvasar B'Tammuz. We don't assume Shvasar B'Tammuz is Asr and Rachitza. Bikish Lakar Tisha B'Av V'Lahodlo. He wanted to uproot. He wanted to get rid of Tisha B'Av, and the other Rabbanim didn't allow him to do it. Amar Lefan of Rabbi Al Barzav. The Rabbi Al Barzav said to the person who said this, Rabbi Lokacha Amaisa. Rabbi, that wasn't what happened with Rabbi. Tisha B'Av Shchal Yos B'Shabbos. He didn't want to uproot Tisha B'Av at all. It was that year Tisha B'Av fell out on Shabbos. V'Dachinu La'achar Shabbos. And Rabbi pushed it, and everyone pushed it off. You can't celebrate Tisha B'Av on Shabbos, so Tisha B'Av is celebrated after Shabbos. Amar Rabbi, he held if it's once it's dachla, it's already pushed off from its appropriate time, you shouldn't celebrate. A nidcha shouldn't be celebrated as Tisha B'Av. There should be no Tisha B'Av that year. Amar Rabbi, hold v'lo hodu l'chamim. The Chachamim didn't agree with him. They said that even as Nidchas, he should celebrate on the 10th day of Av. Kari Halel, once he corrected him, Tovim Hashnayim and Echa, it's better two of us, because I taught the original teaching and my student corrected me. So we're two, at least we came to the right conclusion, better than having the erroneous assumption that Rebbe tried to actually uproot Tishbav Legamre. The Gemara says, "Rebbe Hechi Natan Atiyah B'Purim." In the first part of this statement, Rebbe planted a tree on Purim. How can you do that? By Rav Yosef, Simcha Mishta V'Yom Tov. It says in the Megillah says that. Simcha Mishta and Yom Tov. Simcha Malamed Shasram B'Hesped. It's a day of Simcha Purim. You can't eulogize. Mishta Malamed Shasram B'Tainas. It's a day of feasting, so you can't fast. V'Yom Tov. What does Yom Tov teach us? Malamed Shasram B'Hesped Malacha. Yom Tov teaches me that you're not allowed to do malacha. Now, planting a tree is a malacha. It takes exertion. Even on Chol Hamoed it would be aser. Ella Rebbe Bar Beisar Haba. The right answer is Rebbe celebrated on the 14th. He planted the tree on the 15th, so it really was Purim, but not Purim for him. Aini is just true. Shushan Purim. Aini is true. About Rebbe B'Tveria. Rebbe lived in Tveria. Tveria Mukefes Kol. Mimos Yeshua Beinun. Tveria had walls from Yeshua Beinun. Havai. So, therefore, he should observe the 15th. El Rebbe Baruch HaMeser Hava. The Gemara corrects itself. Rebbe, you're right. He lived in Tveria. He really celebrated on the 15th. V'chinata Bar Beisar Hava. When he planted, it was on the 14th. It wasn't his day of observing Purim. Mim Psheitolei the Tveria Mukevas Chol Yeshua Beinun. The Gemara assumed that it's for sure that Tveria had a wall from the days of Yeshua Beinun. Is that really true? Chizkiah Kari B'Tveria Bar Beisar V'Chameser. Chizkiah, he lived in Tveria. He would read Megillah on the 14th and 15th of Adar. He didn't know whether Tveria was walled from the time of Yeshua or not. So my answer, Chizkiah wasn't sure. The Rebbe Pshitale. Rebbe was certain that it was walled, and therefore he only observed it on the 15th. Even though he observed on the 15th, it is still mutter to plant on the 14th. B'achsiv Megillah's Tainis, Es Yomar Basar, Ves Yom Chamisha, starts Megillah's Tainis. They celebrate the 14th and 15th. Yom Puraya, these days of Purim. Little Mispahud, you're not supposed to eulogize. Am Rava. Rava says, why did it mention 14th and 15th? Lo Nishach El Asar Eshal Zeb Bezeb Eshal Zeb Bezeb, to tell you that even though you celebrate on the 14th, the 15th is Asar. Even though you celebrate on the 15th, the 14th is Asar and Hesped and eulogizing. Where's Zani Mila and Tainus? Whereas Zani Mila Hesped of Tainus, that's talking about eulogizing and fasting. Malacha Yom Echad V'Sulo. It didn't. The Megillah's Tainus didn't answer doing malacha on the day that you don't celebrate in Purim. Any is true. Rav Chazi Lo Gav. A Rav saw a certain person to have a kashadi kitna b'Puria. He was planting flax on Purim. Balatye. He cursed them. V'lo samach kitne. His flax plant didn't produce any linen or flax. Whereas Zasam Bar Yomahava. Really, there he planted the plant on a day that he was supposed to, that was Asr, that was he celebrated as Purim. Here, Rebbe was planting on the other day, they didn't celebrate as Purim. Rabbi Brei the Rava Amar Afilu Tema B'Yome. Even if it was the day that Rabbi celebrated Purim, it has to be the time is Kiblu Alayu Malacha Lo Kabilu Alayu. Malacha, they never accepted upon themselves, even though we saw before it says Yom Tov. Why not? The Mikara Ksiv, originally in the Megillah Esther, it says Simchas Umishta V'Yom Tov. It mentions all three. L'sof Ksiv, l'sof Sam Yom Mishta V'Simcha. At the end, in the next parak in Megillah Esther, it leaves out Yom Tov. Yom Tov lo Ksiv. It doesn't say Yom Tov. Originally, they instituted the celebration of Purim, including as a Yom Tov, that you shouldn't do Malacha. But at the end, they relented and said that Malacha would be allowed on Purim. The Ella Rab, my time allowed Gilu Gav. If Malacha is allowed on Purim, so why did he curse him? The Gemara says, Varam Mutar Ma'achim Nago and Isra, Hava Va'asrei the Rebbe lo Nog. He says, even though there's no Isser, Medina, from the Rabbanon, but it's a minhag. In some places, there's a minhag not to do Malacha on Purim. In Rav's place, there was a minhag, and Rebbe's place, there was no minhag. So therefore, Rebbe was allowed to, and Rav cursed the man who did it. No, really, even Rebbe was knowing the minhag in his place was to refrain from work on Purim. Rebbe Netiya Shal Simcha Nata. Rebbe, it wasn't considered an avoda because a malacha, because he planted a tree of joy. Kedisnan Avru Elu Velonenu Matan Masav Matan. We learned in the last Masechtas Tainis, if all the original 6 fasts passed and they weren't answered. All 13 fasts. Matan Masav Matan. They stopped doing. They diminished their business actions. Binyan and Natia. They stopped building so much and planting. The Erisin and Nisuin. They wouldn't get engaged. They wouldn't marry. V'tana Allah binyan shal simcha Natia shal simcha. What they really didn't allow was building a joyous building and a planting of joy. What's considered a building of joy? Zabona beis chatnas lubno. He marries off his son. He builds him a new house. You plant a fruit tree in the garden of the king. That's Amtiya Shal Simcha. That you can't do when you have a tinus, when you're very sad. But it's not considered a malacha. So therefore, because it makes you happy, so therefore malacha is exertion which you really don't want to do. But if you're enjoying it, like as Rabbi was planting in the king's palace, whatever the government was planting in the government building a tree, it made him happy. It made the country look good, made Eretz Yisrael look good. So he was able to do that. It's not considered malacha. Chizkiah, we saw above, he read on 14th and 15th, even though they didn't very he wasn't sure whether it was walled or not. Is it really Milta de Tveria? He was unsure about Tveria. The fortified cities. This is talking about Pasuk in Yeshua. Sidim, Sar, Bechamas, Rekes, V'kineres. V'kaimel on Rekes, Tveria. Rekes is one of the cities mentioned in the Pasuk. And so we're going to see Rekes is Tveria, reference to Tveria. Now the name for Tveria. So you see that it was fortified, it was walled time Yeshua. The Gemara says, "Hainu time in the Masavgale, Mishum Lechad Gisa Shura Diyam Havas." One of the walls, it was a walled city by 3 sides. One of the 4th wall was the Yam, the Kinneret, I guess. So why was he unsure? It's not considered a wall. When it comes to Bate Arichoma, a walled city, when you sell your house, you have its unique rules, unique laws that you only have 12 months to buy it back, and if it's not repurchased after you sold it to someone after 12 years, you can never buy it back again. Tanya Asher Lochama, below Shor Igor, it has to have a wall. What's considered a walled city? If it has houses as a wall, that's not a wall. Saviv, says in the Pasuk, probably Tveria, Shiama Chomasa. Saviv comes to exclude Tveria from being a walled city regarding Bate Arichoma, because one of its walls is the Yam, is the sea. So we see it's not considered, doesn't make it a walled city. The Gemara says, Leinin Bate Arichoma lo Masafle. That Chizkiah knew for sure it's not considered a walled city. Kikam Masafle, Leinin Mikra Megillah. Maybe the parameters of a walled city for Mikra Megillah are different. My prosim, my mukafin, dechsivi gavi mikra Megillah. It says prosim. It says the word prosim. Prosim is unwalled cities. Mukafin, the opposite. Mukafin is walled cities. So what is it by mikra Megillah? Is prosim means that it was exposed, and mukafin are not exposed, and this one is exposed because at least by one of the sides it's exposed. It's exposed to the sea. Maybe the kavana of prosim is whether it's fortified or not, it's protected from the enemies. Maybe it's not considered prosim because it had the 4th wall is the sea, so the sea is a protective wall also. No one's going to attack from there. He wasn't sure what the kavana of prosim was. Ravasi Kari Megillah b'Hutzal bar Beisar b'Chameser. Ravasi read the Megillah in his hometown of Hutzal on the 14th and 15th. Masafkale and Mukavas Kolman Moshe Yeshua Bino and Ilo. Again, he wasn't sure if his city had a wall from Yeshua's time or not. Ika da Amar. Alternatively, Amar Ravasi Hai Hutzal Beis Binyamin Mukavas Kolman Moshe Yeshua Bino. The Hutzal of Beis Binyamin, one of the territories of Binyamin is the tradition is that it had a wall from Moshe Yeshua Bino, and you read on the 15th. All right, we'll stop the share for Daf Hey. See you in a minute for Daf Vav.